What happens when America's most beloved morning show host drops the friendly giant act and becomes a relentless truth seeker? What happens when someone who spent years controlling her narrative meets someone who refuses to play along? Michael Strahan was about to show Meghan Markle that sometimes the nicest people ask the hardest questions. Privacy contradictions, staff exodus accusations, mental health honesty challenges. Millions were watching. What happened next no one could have scripted. The GMA studio hums with its usual morning energy, but there's an electric tension beneath the surface. Michael Strahan sits across from Meghan Markle, his trademark smile warm, but his eyes carrying something different today, the focus of someone who's done his homework. "Meghan, thanks for being here," Michael begins, his voice carrying that familiar warmth that's made him America's favorite morning host. "I know you're passionate about privacy and protecting your family." Meghan settles into her chair with practiced grace, wearing an elegant navy blazer that projects authority. Her smile is perfect, rehearsed. "Thank you for having me, Michael. Privacy and family protection are indeed very important to me." "That's interesting." Michael leans forward slightly, his demeanor still friendly, but something shifting in his tone. "Because I'm looking at your schedule, and you've done Oprah, Netflix documentaries, podcasts, book tours. For someone who left royal life for privacy, you seem to be everywhere." The comment lands with surgical precision. Meghan's smile falters for just a microsecond. "Well, Michael, there's a difference between controlling your own narrative and having it controlled for you." "Is there?" Michael interrupts gently, but the interruption still catches everyone off guard. "Because it seems like you've just switched from one kind of public life to another. How is that privacy?" The studio audience shifts in their seats. This isn't the softball conversation they expected. "I think you're oversimplifying a very complex situation," Meghan responds, her media training kicking in. "Maybe I am," Michael acknowledges with that disarming smile. "Help me understand. You left for privacy, but you're more public now than ever. You left to escape media scrutiny, but you court media attention. How do you reconcile that?" Meghan's posture becomes more defensive, though she tries to hide it. "Michael, the media often twists things, takes quotes out of context." "Give me an example." Michael cuts in smoothly. "Specifically, what did they twist?" The request catches Meghan off guard. Her prepared talking points don't include specifics. "Well, there were many instances." "Name one." Michael presses, his smile never wavering but his eyes intensifying. "One specific example where the media twisted your words or took something out of context." The silence stretches for 3 uncomfortable seconds. Behind the cameras, producers exchange glances. "It's not about one specific instance, Michael. It's about a pattern." "But patterns are made of specific instances," Michael responds with the patience of someone explaining something obvious. "And you went into this knowing the scrutiny, didn't you? You knew marrying into the royal family meant public attention." Meghan's jaw tightens, almost imperceptibly. No one can truly prepare for that level of. "But you signed up for it," Michael states simply. "You could have walked away during the engagement. You could have said no. But you said yes. And now you're upset about consequences you knew were coming." Michael flips to another page in his notes, the movement deliberate and ominous. "Let's talk about something else. 17 staff members left during your time at Kensington Palace." 17. That's not normal turnover, is it? Meghan's face flushes slightly. "Michael, that's not accurate." "It's from palace records," Michael responds calmly. "And there was a bullying investigation. The timing is interesting. It opened right around when these staff departures accelerated." "I was never," Meghan starts, but Michael continues with relentless precision. "You've talked about the toxic environment you experienced. But what if you were part of creating that environment? What if the problem wasn't the institution? What if it was the adjustment period, the clash of expectations?" The studio audience is dead silent now, sensing they're witnessing something unprecedented. "That's completely unfair." Meghan's voice carries a slight tremor. "I was trying to do my best in an impossible situation." "Were you?" Michael asks, his tone still conversational but cutting. Because this is an institution that bent centuries of protocol for you. They changed rules, they accommodated requests, they welcomed you in. And within 2 years, you were gone, taking their reputation with you. I felt isolated. Meghan tries to regain sympathy. I had no support system. Michael's eyebrows raise with devastating effect. No support system? Meghan, you had Hollywood connections, celebrity friends, global platforms. You had more access and resources than most people could dream of. How is that isolation? He leans forward, his presence suddenly more intense. And here's what I don't understand. The role is bigger than personal feelings, isn't it? This isn't about your comfort level. It's about serving something larger than yourself. Meghan looks genuinely stunned. Michael, you're being incredibly harsh. I'm being honest, he replies without flinching. Something you seem to struggle with. Because every interview you've given, it's the same story. Poor Meghan, misunderstood and mistreated. But where's the self-reflection? Where's the acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, you weren't prepared for what you signed up for? Michael turns another page, his preparation evident in every gesture. You've kept your royal titles while criticizing the institution that gave them to you. You're using Duchess in your business ventures. How is that not having it both ways? We're building something meaningful. Meghan begins defensively. Are you? Michael's voice carries gentle skepticism. Netflix deals worth tens of millions. Spotify contracts. Speaking fees in the 6 figures. It looks less like building something meaningful and more like monetizing your royal connection while trashing the family that gave it to you. The comment lands like a physical blow. Meghan's hands clasp together in her lap, a tell that Michael notices immediately. That's not what we're doing, she insists, but her voice lacks conviction. Then why keep the titles? Michael asks with devastating simplicity. If the institution is so toxic, if the family is so problematic, why not give back the titles and build your brand on your own merit? The silence that follows is deafening. Michael's tone softens slightly, but his intensity never wavers. Meghan, you've been very open about your mental health struggles, and I respect that courage. But I have to ask, you had resources most people don't have. Private doctors, unlimited funds, global connections. Were you really as helpless as you've portrayed? Meghan's eyes flash with anger. That's an inappropriate question, Michael. Is it? Michael maintains his calm demeanor. Because you've made your mental health journey very public. You've used it to explain your actions, to justify your decisions. If you're going to use it as a shield, shouldn't it be open to examination? He continues with surgical precision. You recorded conversations, you saved texts, you documented everything. Does that sound like someone who was helpless? Or does it sound like someone who was building a case? The studio is electric with tension. This has gone far beyond normal morning show territory. I was trying to protect myself, Meghan whispers. From what? Michael presses. From accountability? From consequences? From the possibility that your version of events might not be the whole truth. Meghan suddenly stands up, her composure finally cracking. I don't have to sit here and be attacked. And there it is, Michael says quietly, but his voice carries across the studio. The pattern. When anyone challenges you, when anyone asks hard questions, you walk away. He remains seated, completely in control. Your father asked hard questions, you cut him off. Your sister raised concerns, you silenced her. Palace staff pushed back, they were branded as bullies. The royal family set boundaries, you left and trashed them publicly. Meghan freezes at the edge of the set, torn between fleeing and fighting back. Do you see the pattern, Meghan? Everyone who's ever challenged you, everyone who's ever said no to you, everyone who's ever held you accountable, they all become the villains in your story. The observation hangs in the air like an indictment. That's not true, Meghan says, but her voice cracks. Isn't it? Michael asks with devastating calm. Name one person who's challenged you who didn't end up being painted as toxic, racist, or abusive. Just one. Michael stands up slowly, his full presence commanding the studio. Here's what I think happened, Meghan. I think you had opportunities most people could only dream of. A fairy tale wedding, a global platform, unlimited resources to make a difference. His voice grows stronger, more authoritative. But instead of rising to meet those opportunities, you threw them away because they weren't exactly what you wanted them to be. And rather than take responsibility for that choice, you've spent 2 years trying to convince the world that everyone else was the problem. Meghan's hands are visibly shaking now. Michael, you don't understand. I understand perfectly. He cuts her off with finality. I understand that behavior has consequences. I understand that when you make serious allegations against people, you better have proof. I understand that when you accept incredible privileges, you accept incredible responsibilities. He looks directly into the camera, addressing millions of viewers. And I understand that sometimes the most important thing a journalist can do is ask the questions everyone's thinking, but nobody's brave enough to voice. Meghan removes her microphone with shaking hands. This interview is over. Yes, it is, Michael agrees calmly. And so is your credibility. As Meghan storms toward the exit, Michael delivers his final blow. You had everything, Meghan. A loving family, global platform, unlimited opportunities to help people. And you threw it all away because it wasn't perfect. That's not strength. That's selfishness. Meghan turns back one last time, tears streaming down her face. You'll regret this. Michael's response is immediate and devastating. The only thing I regret is that it took this long for someone to hold you accountable. As Meghan disappears from frame, Michael turns directly to the camera. His expression is calm, professional, but his eyes carry the satisfaction of someone who's just done exactly what journalists are supposed to do. Ladies and gentlemen, what you've just witnessed is what happens when narratives meet real journalism. For 2 years, we've been asked to accept serious allegations without evidence. We've been told to believe institutional racism without documentation. We've been expected to support someone's version of events without question. His voice grows stronger, more authoritative. But that's not how journalism works. That's not how accountability works. And that's not how truth works. Michael pauses, letting his words settle. Real journalists ask hard questions. Real accountability demands evidence. And real truth doesn't need protection from scrutiny. He closes his folder with finality. That's our show for today. I'm Michael Strahan. And that's what real journalism looks like. The moment the cameras stop rolling, the studio erupts. Producers are frantically making calls. Social media is exploding. Within minutes, clips are viral across every platform. But Michael sits calmly at his desk, reviewing his notes with quiet satisfaction. He'd done something most journalists hadn't dared to do. He'd asked the questions everyone was thinking. He'd demanded evidence for serious allegations. He'd refused to accept narratives without verification. He'd reminded everyone that privilege comes with responsibility, and accountability applies to everyone. Most importantly, he'd shown America what happens when someone finally says no to manufactured victimhood. The friendly giant had revealed himself to be something much more dangerous. A journalist who still believed in truth. And truth, as Meghan had just discovered, could be absolutely devastating.